Troy running back Kimani Vidal, though, Caden, he comes into this draft process as Troy's all-time leading rusher after 4 seasons in Troy, Alabama. He was a top 7 rusher in the country this last year, over 1,600 yards from scrimmage. He finished the year as Troy's single game, single season, and career rushing yards leader. And honestly, then he caps it off with probably the best game of his career, 5 touchdowns again against App State. They had some issues against some of these good running backs at times, but he was named the Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year this year. It was the 4th time in his career that he has been an all-conference player. And Caden, he was responsible for over 4,000 yards during his 4-year career, 2 1,000-yard rushing games to his name. And one of the big things I continue to hear as I talk to people who are invested in this process, they love that Kimani Vidal is a high-character guy. And I know you and I got to spend some time with him. He has been on this podcast before, and we would definitely echo that. I did hear from some scouts, too, that they love the fact that he played in the bowl game. You obviously see some people who opt out, and I think that shows some loyalty, and NFL teams definitely, look at loyalty in this process. So I think if he put together, and he did put together a decent performance at the Senior Bowl, he had 6 rushes for 26 yards. So I think Kimani Vidal is definitely trending in the right direction in terms of the NFL draft process.
He definitely is, no. And you mentioned the high character aspects he has when it comes to the interview process and the conversations he's going to have at the combine. He's going to knock those out of the park. But kind of like all running backs, wide receivers, defensive backs, a fast 40-yard dash is going to be a major key for Kimani. This is a guy who's a 5'7.5" guy, 15 pounds, has that short, stocky build that like everyone hates to tackle at the next level, at the college level. And he had an excellent showing at the Senior Bowl, like you mentioned. He didn't really have a ton of the stats and production within the game, but throughout the practices during the week, he did a really good job of showing off his explosiveness. He really impressed a lot of people with his catching ability as well. And I think he has to continue showing that at the combine when it comes to his route running, catching the ball cleanly and crisply, really showing overall fluidity to help him up that draft stock a ton. I feel like running backs his size kind of have that stiffer game, that strong game, but I think Kimani has more fluidity and natural running back abilities and kind of that more versatility that you don't see necessarily with players at his position. This is a guy that's built kind of like Maurice Jones-Drew, but he reminds me of Craig Reynolds, a guy for the Detroit Lions who we saw in Hard Knocks a couple of years ago. That was a power back who really can complement other speed backs and other rushers within your backfield as a good power third down back who can do pass protection as well, maybe even have some special teams value as well, just given his kind of work ethic and his build and what he's capable of. So I'm excited for Kimani in this running back room as a whole for the Sun Belt to just show that he's more than just that short, stocky, prototypical back you see at the next level. He brings a little bit more, and hopefully he can continue showing that and building on that Senior Bowl performance that he had earlier last month.
Yeah, Caden, I think that the one thing you mentioned there that is definitely really interesting is his ability to pass block. Like, he was one of the best pass blocking running backs in the Sun Belt this past year. And I think if he can translate that to the NFL, a league where we're seeing a lot more, shotgun, a lot more passing, I think that definitely helps him perhaps, even on some of those later downs, maybe later on in his career. I think the one knock right now that you hear about Kimani, and Caden, we've seen it in person, he obviously can break through those holes and break a big run, but he does tend to slow down a little bit, and he does have the ability to be caught on those big runs at the end. So there's definitely some questions about his game. I think, you mentioned too, just the number of yards that he's rushed for. There's definitely a lot of tread on those tires, to use that phrase. So it'll be interesting to see. He's a little bit older than maybe the average running back that comes out. He's 22. I think NFL teams love those guys who are 21 coming out after their junior year, particularly with a position that at the end of the day does not have a long shelf life. But from what I'm hearing right now, it seems like he's trending towards a late day 3 selection. I think there's even a chance that Kimani maybe goes undrafted in the NFL draft. But I do think if he does end up going undrafted here, which is not guaranteed, particularly with a big combine week perhaps coming up, but I think he's going to be picked up pretty quickly. This is a guy that probably will have a career in the NFL as part of a running back by committee. So it'll be interesting to see how his career plays out.